Hello there. As Kyiv smoulders under the ashes of a massive drone and missile barrage, leaving 5 dead, including a pregnant woman, Europe's defences giants gather in Berlin. The E5 unite, sending a defiant message. Ukraine will not stand alone. Yet, as ministers plot military aid, Russia strikes deeper, targeting energy, economy and morale, while Pyongyang's shadow looms with troops now clearing mines in Kursk. With corruption scandals shaking Zelensky's inner circle and winter threatening millions, the battle is no longer just for land, but survival itself. Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
Welcome to the program. The Guardian has reported that Russia launched a massive combined serial assault on Kyiv, striking residential areas and critical infrastructure across nearly every district of the capital. This escalation involved both drones and missiles, causing widespread fires, scattering debris, and resulting in multiple injuries. The attacks, described by Mayor Vitaly Klitschko as ongoing, have damaged numerous multi-story apartment buildings and interrupted essential services like the heating system. Authorities warn citizens of potential power and water outages, urging them to remain in shelters as emergency crews battle blazes in several neighborhoods. This intensified violence against civilians comes amid recent warnings from European Union officials to Kyiv regarding the need to continue cracking down on corruption. Despite these domestic issues, the international community assures that vital aid will keep flowing to support Ukraine's defenses against the unrelenting Russian invasion. And according to Politico, Berlin has decisively stepped up, announcing a record €11.5 billion military aid package for Ukraine in its 2026 draft budget. This move by Chancellor Merz's coalition, which includes €3 billion for Patriot systems and drones, signals a crucial shift in support dynamics. The German commitment is strategic, aiming to fill the vacuum created by stalling US financial flows. Germany is already Kyiv's second largest donor, and this funding surge cements its role as the leading European security partner amidst the ongoing conflict. Critically, this record expenditure was enabled by bypassing Germany's constitutional debt brake, showing a deep structural commitment. This occurs while the EU struggles to unlock sanctioned Russian assets, underscoring the urgent need for consistent, long-term Western solidarity. Beneath Kyiv's fractured skies, winter's chill meets war's cruelty as Europe rallies and Russia strikes light and nation endures, not for victory, but for the next sunrise.
While diplomats gather in Berlin, a different kind of summit is underway in the shadows of Kiev, one fought with candles, batteries, and raw willpower. In Berlin, the E5, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Poland stand united, a show of force, a promise of more air defense systems, drones, and ammunition. With the US policy under Trump shifting towards disengagement, Europe is stepping into the void. This isn't just coordination, it's the birth of European strategic autonomy, led by voices like EU Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas, who warns any pause in aid is a gift to Putin. But Moscow isn't waiting. Last night, 430 drones and 18 missiles rained down on Ukraine. 4 dead, dozens injured, homes ablaze. Russia's new winter strategy? Not conquest, collapse. Target the grid, freeze the cities, break the spirit. And at the front, fog rolls over Pokrovsk. Russian infantry creep forward in small groups, avoiding open battle. Their goal, not just land, but a victory Putin can sell to Trump, to Beijing, to his own people. Ukraine's greatest threat may not come from across the border. A corruption scandal rocks Zelensky's government. Ministers accused of stealing funds meant for nuclear plant defenses. Trust erodes. Aid delays loom. Even as Europe pledges unity, Russia strikes again, this time cutting power to 16 settlements. The lights go out, then come back, then go out again. But still, life persists. Football matches under bomb shelter capacity rules. Families huddled in metro tunnels. Ukrainians aren't just surviving, they're resisting with every light they turn on. The fate of Ukraine is being decided not in one place, but 3. In ministerial halls, in courtrooms, and in frozen apartments where a mother holds her child close, whispering, "We can hold on." Europe says it stands with Ukraine. Russia says Kiev will kneel, but history will remember it was the people in the dark who kept the light alive.
Hanny Safe bringing us that report. And now we go to Kyiv and to Moscow. Joining us from Kyiv, Mr. Ivan Us, who is an advisor at the Ukraine National Center. And from Moscow, joining us is Sergei Markov, a former advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being back here with us on Q News. I'll start with you, Ivan Us. Can the E5's massive new military pledges fundamentally shift the battlefield equation, or without US leadership, is any idea of European strategic autonomy simply a pipe dream?
Greetings to you, Mark. Greetings to Sergey, and greetings to all Q News audience. Thank you for the invitation. You know, Mark, of course, this attack that you mentioned before our air, actually it's attack that damaged 9 of 10 districts of Kiev city where I'm living. So, of course, it's one of the most serious attacks to the capital of Ukraine. And of course, now we are, after that attack, the main idea is just to respond to Russia for such a serious casualties. 6 persons was murdered by a Russian drone attack in the residential building this night. And now, of course, we're discussing with our partners, first of all, to giving more weapons to Ukraine. And in that connection, the United States of America is a key thing, that key partner that can give this weapon, because Europe can purchase it, but Europe could not produce such a weapon like the United States. So that's why for Ukraine it's very important that shut down that was in the United States of America during 43 days, finally over. And now I think that it can open the window for purchasing more weapons. You know that 2 days ago, northern European countries agreed to invest $500 million in purchasing the weapon for Ukraine. So now I think that after the end of that shutdown, it will be more opportunity to have more weapons. And as we said, now we need either to support Ukrainian army, first of all, then to support Ukrainian electricity production that Russia constantly wants to damage it. And of course, the Ukrainian economy, because as Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Sikorski said that this war will last at least 3 years, and Europe should be ready to support Ukraine during these 3 years. And this is a war of attrition, war of economies. So at least now we received signals from partners that we will receive this support. So we will see whether it will be actually. Thank you, Mark.
Well, yeah, and let's bring in Sergei Markov then. Ivan was there talking about this massive strike on Kyiv. How does the Kremlin justify such an assault on Kyiv's residential areas? Sergei Markov. Yes, yes, sir.
Sorry. It was a strike not against a residential area. at all. It was strike against military factories and position points, different infrastructure of Ukrainian army, and also energy infrastructure, because it's used for the military economy of Ukraine. Also, let me express my deep regret about saving of the 6 civilian lives during this strike, because for us, people in Kiev, not enemies. For us, they are our Russian people. Russian army come here not to kill them, but to liberate them. And Russian demands for stopping the war very simple. It's not demand not to Zelensky, because Zelensky for us is just puppet in the hands of Western countries. Our Russian demands to the Western party is very simple. Stop your neo-colonial, terroristic, Russophobic regime in Ukraine. Let's allow Ukrainians live as Ukrainians want to live, and they want to live as neutral, demilitarized country. So, and also demand stopping repression against Russian language and Orthodox Church. It was very clear demands, and Russian army will continue its moving forward until Western hosts, Western masters of neo-colonial Ukrainian regime would agree with these Russian demands. And this strike will be normally just more and more and more because military capacities is developing. By the way, Ukraine also give very big strike to the Russian Krasnodar Krai and specifically to Novorossiysk. More than 100 drones attacked only this place just this night. So exchange of the strikes will be bigger and bigger and bigger. And we, Russia, suggested to stop this war as soon as possible with very clear conditions. Stopping terror in Ukraine, denazification and demilitarization, stopping political repression against Russian language and Orthodox Church.
Okay, I'll bring Ivan Us back in there. Sergei Markov just saying that he offering his regret about the civilians killed in these strikes, but saying actually this is not a residential area. These were not strikes on residential areas, but on military targets. Your view, please.
Markov, as I said, 9 of 10 districts of Kiev was damaged. 6 civilian person in Kiev, 2 civilian person in Chernomorsk, Odessa region. So Russia attacked everything that they can, and Russian drones attacked directly residential buildings. It's not something when you destroy drone and after the using of special devices or after striking all those drones, they damage residential buildings. It was direct strike. And it's happening for practically 4 years. So when Russia said that, we want to liberate Ukraine, they want to liberate Ukrainians from their lives. In practice, we see that. In theory, Russia can make a lot of statements, but we see the first of all fact that Russia started full-scale war at the 24th of February 2022. Before that, Russia started war annexing Crimea and some part of Donbass. So that's the only Russia desire to destroy Ukraine. When Russia said denazification, it means elimination of Ukrainian people, elimination of Ukrainian nation. Because Russia could not, as Brzezinski, former national security advisor, president of the United States, said a phrase that without Ukraine, Russia is not empire. Without Tataria, Russia is just Moscovia.
I'll just interrupt a second there, Ivan Os, if I can. Sergei Markov was making the point that he doesn't want to see any civilian casualties because as he sees the Ukrainian people as Russians.
First of all, Ukraine is not Russia, as President Kuchma once wrote a book. Secondly, as I said, we have full-scale war for actually for 4 years practically. Of course, I understand that Russia said that they're murdering Ukrainian civilians, but what happened with the Russian soldiers that murdered a lot of Ukrainian civilians in Bucha and other Kiev suburb and the whole Ukraine actually? What's happening now in Pokrovsk when Russia practically eliminating the city as they eliminated a lot of other cities? So when we are talking about battle for the Ukrainian towns, it's a battle for rubble of those towns. That's why, of course, we understand that Russia has one desire to win this war. They don't think about civilians. Of course, I understand that psychologically, as I said, that it's happening, but they murdering. On the one hand, they said, "Oh, we are sorry," but on the other hand, they murdering every day and every night. Made those attack today, nine rockets, 430 drones, and it's not absolutely accurate weapon. It's weapon that targeted not with big accuracy. And today, tomorrow, I will be in the place where Russia destroyed the residential building, murdering a lot of people while eliminating full section of the building just because it's situated not far away from the plant that, as Russia think, produced weapon, but actually it's a residential building. And the Russians, by that strike, even if they think that they can destroy military production, they murdered a lot of people who live in the house situated in nearest vicinity from the plant. Not actually in several meters, it's several thousand meters, but nevertheless, Russian strike murdered them. That's why it's part of war, as I said, and under the word denazification, Russia means elimination of whole people who live in Ukraine. And as second president of Ukraine, Kuchma said, we are not Russia and we don't want to be a part of Russia. It's our ideology. And unfortunately, it's not stopping Russia. And Russia, who was sure that they could win this war in 4 days, capture and annexing Kiev and whole Ukraine. Now we see a fourth year of this war just because Ukrainian people don't want to surrender and Ukrainian people don't want to be Russia. That's my response. Thank you, Mark.
Sergei Markov, coming back to you then, Ivan also mentioning Pokrovsk and that Russia is eliminating Pokrovsk like it has eliminated many other Ukrainian cities. Given what you said about not wanting civilian casualties and seeing them as Russians, as you said, why is the destruction so devastating to Ukraine? Is Russia trying to make Ukraine negotiate from a position of weakness?
First, I want to stress again that this is a main issue. It's not military issue. It's not war between Russia and Ukraine. It's war for identity of Ukraine, war between Russia and Western countries. Western countries want to kill Russian identity. Everybody can open history book and see that Kiev was capital of Russia during 3 centuries. 3 centuries, capital of Russia. Ukraine was part of the Russia during more than 1,000 years, except some period of occupation from Germany and from Poland. So it's part of the Russia. Ukrainians want to be part of the Russia. And Ukrainians want to have good relations with both.
I have to interrupt you while you're I'm going to have to interrupt you because Ivan Us is just telling us there that Ukrainians don't want to be part of Russia. What gives you the feeling that Ukrainians do want to be part of Russia in your view?
It's very easily. Before, when Ukraine was democratic country, it was before 2014 when Western intelligence service overthrown last democratic elected president of Ukraine. Half of Ukrainians voted for pro-Russian parties. And Ukrainians, if you look at the sociology, Ukrainians, when Ukraine was a free country, not under terror as now, Ukrainians every time voted that Russian language should have official status in Ukraine, and everybody who wants to have education in Russian language, media in Russian language, everything, they should be allowed. But now Ukrainian government doing absolutely opposite what majority of Ukrainians want the policy should be. And it's absolutely clear that Ukraine want to be independent. Yes, that's right. They want to have good relations with both Russia and Europe and another, China, United States. But first of all, Russia is Europe. It's normal. Allow them to do it.
Okay.
Don't kill those Ukrainians who want Ukraine to be friendly with both sides. It's a very clear Russian demand. Let's move Ukraine to the situation when Ukraine was between 1991 and 2014. Those times Ukraine had absolutely no any security problems with Ukraine, with Russia. Sorry. Why? Just because Ukraine was independent democratic country.
Okay, all right. I think you've made your point there. I think you've made your point. Let me bring.
So this is what I did. That's why both me and my colleague.
All right, Sergei Markov. Thank you very much. I'm going to bring Ivan Uzbek in because you have made that point very well. But let me come on. You can come back on that, Ivan, of course. But let me also turn to corruption in Ukraine. You've had energy ministers resigning and corruption claims which have always dogged Ukrainian politics. Is this at risk of destabilizing the relationship and the support that you get from European partners?
Mark, of course, corruption big problem for Ukraine for all time. During every president, we have this problem. Even for me, as for a person who was speechwriter of President Yanukovych, and actually President Yanukovych want to be in Europe. He don't want to be in Russia. He played a balanced role, but he promised to Ukraine that we will be in Europe, not in Russia. In that time, we saw accused in corruption as it was accusation during all previous presidents and all other presidents. And actually, now, of course, it's corruption scandals that give arguments to the hands of Ukrainian opponents. Because if you switch on many foreign shows, for example, Piers Morgan show, one of the most popular show in the United Kingdom, we saw the statement of guests that Ukraine is the most corrupted country in the world. Why are you helping them? First of all, my response, from 180 countries that mentioned in the Transparency International report, Ukraine at the 105th position. Yes, we could not say that we have no corruption, but we are not the most corruptive country. We're in the middle of this list. And Russia actually 157 place in the last rating. But nevertheless, of course, a lot of people use it as an argument. And this scandal that happened in Ukraine is demonstrations that corruption exists even during the war. And now I think the task for our president to actually respond on the situation, to send the person engaged in the scandal out of their position. I think that our president 2 days ago make address to the coalition that actually determine who should be ministers in our country, because Ukraine is a parliamentary state, and they decided, deputies. So now I think that next week this decision will take place, but we see sanctions that president imposed against the main two-person engaged in this conflict. So we will solve it, and you know that before that was another scandal with independence of anti-corruption bodies of Ukraine. Now they demonstrate that they actually can do something in the war with corruption. So we understand that there is no example of the country who could eliminate corruption, because at the Transparency International that I mentioned, Denmark, the country ranked #1, but only with 90 of 100 points. It means that corruption exists in Denmark or in some other countries that is lower than Denmark. Nevertheless, of course, we recognize that we have this problem, and we also ask our partners to help to us to at least decrease the level of corruption in our country. We understand that we could not win this war against corruption. For us, more important to win war against Russia, because Russian, as this night, killed Ukrainians and do that every day. But of course, we are explaining to our partners that it should not be played a reason not to help Ukraine. We understand that it will be used by Ukrainian opponents, but unfortunately, we recognize the problem, and I think that the main moment is a recognition of problem, because it's first step to its solution. Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, and coming to you, Sergei Markov, when it comes to Ukraine's European partners. How does Moscow view the E5 alliance? The E5 being, of course, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Poland. Does it think that they could create some kind of security backbone capable of countering Russia's military long term?
We think that it's a very dangerous development of Europe. By the way, this European 5, this is 80% of the European economy. So it's in fact the European Union, the Europe is exactly there. And now they have militarization of Europe and they're preparing to the war against Russia. Of course, Russia look very negatively. Also, this European structures support absolutely 100% undemocratic Russophobic regime in Ukraine. Of course, it's also very bad. And we also see that they have specific interest. For example, look, President of France of Macron. Why he interesting to continue Ukrainian war? Because he used this military hysteria for the domestic issues. Macron interesting to keep arrest of the most popular French politician who is Marine Le Pen. If pre-election in France happen now, Marine Le Pen will win over the Macron, of course, with a very good majority. That's why Macron, who represents interests of oligarchy and deep state of France and European Union, he wants to continue to keep arrest of the Le Pen, not allowing them to take part in elections. How to do it? How to move French people from France not to be against this arrest of Le Pen? It's very easily to have military hysteria. Look, for example, on the Ursula von der Leyen. Why she's interesting personally about continuation of Ukrainian war? Because the problem for them is two independent, two sovereign countries such as Hungary, Slovakia, and now Czechia. They want to suppress sovereignty of those countries. How to do it? Through the military hysteria against Russia. So, by pushing up this military hysteria against Russia, European politicians try to resolve on dirty domestic problems.
Okay, Ivan Us, Putin has been speaking of a big war by 2029. Are you worried that what has happened in the last 4 years is or could be just a prelude?
Was it?
I'll start off with Ivan Us, then I'll bring you in, Sergey, on it too.
Yeah, I think that European, it's the question, either Europe will be able or unable to be geopolitically more independent. I personally don't think so. We still have no clear consensus about the future of Europe from this point of view. I'm concerned about, from my point of view, Western countries, including United States, Great Britain, European Union, they already built one big empire. And the tension between Washington now on one hand and London and Brussels and Paris on another
I'm going to have to break it in and cut you off, Sergey, I'm afraid, because the question was meant for Mr. Us and we only have about a minute left. But thank you very much. Ivan Us, your view, is it just a prelude?
Yes, so of course, actually, as we see now, the war go on. So for us, it's important normalization situation between Brussels and Washington, because we understand that we need support of both of those sides, and the conflict that sometimes arises between the United States of America and the European Union is not played in favor of supporting Ukraine from their side. But as Europe have the direct threat of war from Russia, and we understand that when Russia said that we didn't plan the war, but switch on some videos where the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs Lavrov 2 or 3 days before full-scale war said that we don't plan war with Ukraine, but actually Russia doesn't. That's why when Russia said that we don't plan war against Europe, it doesn't mean that they didn't plan it. I think that Russia dreamed for a war against Europe because Russia has a very good history when every time when any war actually come to an end, they have problems inside Russia. It was after First World War that led to the revolution. The war with Japan led to another temporary revolution. So that's why for Russia it's hard to stop, and that's why Europe should be ready for war, and the US should be on the European side in this war. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it was a very passionate discussion, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to have you both as guests on our programs. Thank you very much. Ivan Us, advisor at the Ukraine National Center, and Sergei Markov, former advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here with us on Q News. As Kyiv endures winter's fire and Berlin pledges unity, the true battle is not just for land, but it is for the will. Russia seeks control, Europe fights to sustain hope, and Ukraine's survival now hinges on light, on leadership, and the world's resolve to keep it existing. That brings us to the end of today's think tank, which always tries to unveil the complexities of our changing world. Thanks for watching.